The Mangala Express tore through the night, a steel beast roaring from Delhi to Calcutta, breathing steam and hunger into the darkness. I was Arjun, a software engineer whose code could predict almost anything, except the complete and utter disaster my life was about to become. I sat amidst the chaos of the carriage, the air thick with sweat, grease, and the sickly sweet smell of cheap jasmine flowers. The noise was alive, a pulsing, whispering thing. All I wanted was to sleep too, just disappear for a while. Across from me sat Uncle Ramesh, the old night guard at my company. After my parents died, he'd practically adopted me as his own. His wrinkled face, carved out of candlelight, leaned forward. "Arjun," he said, his voice trembling, almost lost in the thunder of the wheels. "When I boarded the train, I saw someone. He had 2 feet, but they weren't touching the ground." I forced a laugh, dismissing it as another one of his ghost stories from the village. But then, the lights went out, plunged into absolute, suffocating blackness. Something cold and damp brushed the back of my neck. It was slick, wet, and felt deeply, fundamentally not human. When the lights flickered back on, Uncle Ramesh was on his feet, his face pale as paper. His eyes were wide, fixed on the corridor. "It touched you," he whispered, his voice hoarse with terror. "Dear God, it marked you." Before I could even process his words, a blood-curdling screech tore through the night. The train jerked violently, throwing passengers from their seats as it shuddered to a dead stop. Chaos erupted. I fumbled for my phone. The screen was dead. Just a moment ago, it was fully charged. Now, it was just a lifeless black brick in my hand. "Don't use it," Uncle Ramesh warned, his voice urgent. "It feeds on that energy. It can track us through it." Then a new smell hit, metallic and utterly unbearable. It was the stench of raw, torn flesh. It drifted from the rear of the carriage, from the toilets. A young man stumbled out, his face a mask of terror, his finger trembling as he pointed toward the closed door behind him. He stammered, unable to form another word before collapsing. Uncle Ramesh pulled me close, his grip surprisingly strong. "Don't look," he said softly, his voice a low hum against the rising panic. "Just listen. Senses can lie, Arjun, but the voice of a soul cannot. They can't imitate that trembling, that fear." Just then, soldiers appeared, materializing from the shadows outside, as if the darkness itself had given birth to them. They wore plain brown uniforms, their faces completely expressionless. The commander, a man with a jagged scar running from his temple to his lip, stepped forward, his gaze cut through the carriage like a blade. "A Sigma-class entity has infiltrated this train," he announced, his voice as cold and metallic as the rails outside. "This is now a mobile quarantine zone. Your survival depends on complete obedience." They carried no papers, only strangest small handheld devices that wind like dying animals. They began waving them in front of each passenger, a methodical, terrifying sweep. When they reached a young woman named Priyanka, the device screamed with a shrill, inhuman pitch that made my teeth ache. "No, I'm human," she cried, her voice cracking with desperation. But for a split second, I swear I saw it, her face lost all its features, becoming a smooth, blank surface like melting wax. The soldiers lunged, dragging her away as her screams were swallowed by the vast, dark night. I trembled, turning to Uncle Ramesh, but his expression had changed. It was hard, carved, ancient. "I'm sorry, Arjun," he rasped, the words catching in his throat. "This is my fault. Years ago, back in our village, we woke something that should have slept forever. It feeds on memories, on emotions. It leaves behind an empty shell. And when the shell decays, it needs a new one." He gripped my hand, his fingers digging into my skin. "Our bloodline yours, what it wants. I brought you on this train to the last station. The soldiers there have a containment site. They can trap it, but it must have sensed you. It woke too soon." My blood ran cold. The truth hit me with the force of a physical blow. I wasn't just a passenger caught in a nightmare. I was bait. Suddenly, Uncle Ramesh convulsed. His body arched backward, twisting violently in a way that defied anatomy. A sound that was not human tore from his throat as he fell to the floor, shuddering, his eyes rolling back into his head. "It's coming!" he screamed, his voice distorted. "Alien, it's leaving me! Arjun, run!" But I was frozen, paralyzed by sheer terror. And then I saw it. A black vapor, like ink poured into water, began pouring from his mouth, his nose, his eyes. It swirled, thick and hungry, a formless shadow radiating a primal, all-consuming hunger. It turned its non-face. "Toward me, now," the scarred commander shouted. His soldiers fired, not with bullets, but with beams of blinding white light. The entity shrieked a sound that didn't just hurt the ears. It stabbed the soul. It folded in on itself and vanished through the floor of the train. Silence crashed down, heavier than any noise. Uncle Ramesh lay still, his eyes open but hollow. It wasn't the emptiness of death. It was the emptiness of something that had been completely and utterly drained. The train began to move again, slowly, as if nothing had happened. The soldiers collected his body with a practiced, chilling indifference and disappeared back into the night. The door slammed shut, leaving me alone, staring at the empty seat across from me. When dawn finally broke, I was still there, frozen. The world outside glowed with gold, calm and indifferent to the horror that had unfolded within these steel walls. I looked down at my wrist, where his hand had gripped mine. A bruise had formed, shaped uncannily like smoky fingers, pressed deep into my skin. It didn't hurt. It was just cold. So very cold. I turned toward the window. India was waking up street vendors. Morning smoke, warm sunlight. But everything felt wrong. Distant, like a picture behind glass. I knew it wasn't gone. It had only retreaded. It was waiting. Watching. I took out my dead phone. It was a foolish impulse, but I pressed the power button anyway. The screen flickered to life, not with my usual wallpaper, but with a photo of me asleep on the train, my face half drowned in shadow, and right behind me, a dark figure was reaching out. The phone shut off. This time, I knew it was for good. My hands were shaking uncontrollably. My pulse hammered in my ears, a frantic drumbeat of terror. I finally understood what Uncle Ramesh had meant. The hunt wasn't over. It had found its prey, and I was no longer a victim caught in the crossfire. I was the heir. I was the next vessel. Thanks for watching. If this story sent a chill down your spine, hit that like button and subscribe for more tailies from the shadows. Stay safe out there.